That's right, everybody. Every time we get to see some of those moments from yesteryear in the Overwatch League, we're reminded, of course, of the majesty and the glory that the London Spitfire once held as an organisation. Matt, far cry from that now, but a decent start to this season for them.
Yeah.
They're 2-1 with their unique style. They've frustrated multiple foes.
Feels like, I don't remember some of the iterations of the London Spitfire between Season 1 and now. But it feels like this is like one of the best looks we've seen. As, 2-1 really early. I think they provide a matchup, you don't want to say a nightmare, right? Because I think the Outlaws, like I know Scott was saying, they have so many tremendous players, but I do think like in terms of styles, right? Where London wants to play this like Reinhardt brawl and Houston's playing this Doomfist could be a bit of an issue.
All right, look, I'm glad that was brought up because we know just how susceptible Doomfist has always been to Mei in particular. You can't freeze him now without Blizzard, of course, but he's a bit more punishable than Winston, who can throw down a bubble and just wait till that jump cooldown comes back. So that's just a little bit of theorycraft to tease this. And I do love how Scott talking about some of those Spitfire players. We'll have a chance to flesh that out a little bit more in a moment. But the Houston Outlaws, whichever way you slice it, are looking frightening. Merritt, especially, Matt, has been impressing people left, right, and center as he's made his way into this team and has carved out his spot as a mostly hit-scan DPS dynamo.
And it's just what the Outlaws do. Can it be effective against what we know that London likes to play? We know how good Merritt has been. I think Pelican, though maybe not getting off to the best of starts, right? Compared to like last year with how strong he was, but he's so talented you expect him to figure it out. That can this Doomfist tank, right? Which is what they've been doing most of the time, and Dante in here to start today, so you expect it again. Can this work against what London is going to throw at it?
If there are a few teams that are substituting that, I'm going to use air quotes here, off-tank player to play Zarya and try and put this sort of Reaper-based composition together. Houston are not above trying that either, but we've seen them find great success by, Houston also have brought in Picky once or twice to try and go for that approach. London, obviously, it was their bread and butter for a time. Obviously, this Reinhardt-based composition, right? They have Hardy in here. And we see him primarily on the Reinhardt again. Reinhardt Mei compositions from this team, really trying to punish teams that don't have a really well-executed dive.
And, you have an opportunity, if possible, to put Shax on Tracer. Like Scott was saying, even able to carry him, right, for a bit, where Shax has been so good on that hero for so long. And what I like about London is they seem to have committed to this style and just trying to master it. They also, they do have Poco on this team, right? So if any of those Zarya comps become really strong, we haven't seen Diva really at all, in the meta. But if they have a chance where they want to try and pull out something with Zarya, they have fantastic Zarya. Poco really strong on that hero.
Yeah, someone who's been honestly waiting a long time to play. Most of last year there was visa immigration issues like that for Poco, and a lot of the time if you followed along with him on Instagram, it was photos of France. So he was definitely trying to find his way into an active roster at the time, and maybe later on this season, an opportunity to make a big debut for this Spitfire. Remember, this is the 2-2 Houston Outlaws versus the 2-1 London Spitfire. It kicks off on Ilios, ladies and gentlemen, but it's worth pointing out that neither of these teams have had an easy run, but Houston's strength of schedule has been much nastier than London's.
Yeah, without a doubt, but it doesn't really change anything, right? London coming in could sneak this game out, right? Send the Outlaws to 2-3. Putting their kickoff clash, LAN appearance hopes in a really tough spot. So really, and this is one for the Outlaws. You probably look at this game on your schedule and you're like, all right, we have some tough ones, but we got London, right? Because that's kind of how London's been for a bit now. But this is not a London Spitfire roster to take lightly as they perform thus far.
Yeah, I think at first people maybe didn't take them so seriously until they started, really showing just how durable and how robust that Rhine-based composition is. Well, unfortunately, this is not the kind of map that affords them the opportunity to play that. They're going to have to fall in line a little bit, Matthew.
Well, we also know Sparker from last year, right? Like he had even though the team didn't have a lot of high moments, he actually had a lot of really strong performances later in the year. I believe he wasn't old enough to play at the beginning, but once we saw him start to play, really good things. So now you have him for the whole season. You have him playing really strong. Could be a pretty underrated DPS combo here.
Dante took a face full of damage there. Able to get a heck of a lot of durability though from connecting these abilities. Landon obviously finds a slick dart, but Dante, he's already struck gold.
Yeah, no durability for the supports of the Spitfire. This dude, it looked like a biotic grenade. It looks like he had like an empowered punch because it looked like they were both stunned against the wall there for a sec, and Dante just able to clean up the supports there with some help from Pelican. So really clean first fight here from the Outlaws.
There's only 100 damage to charge up that empowered punch, so Idiot Helix Rocket gets you most of the way there. Pelican under a little bit of pressure here. Flight cooldown up now. Uses it really just to reposition and play very close to the ground right now. Wants to punish Hardy and not give them a staging ground to send that Winston forth.
Yeah, you see where the supports are a little bit from Pelican's POV of the London Spitfire, and they're forced around that corner because all the pressure from Dante that they're not able to even get like line of sight to get Hardy any healing. It just gets burned down with the focusing beam. So 2 quick fights, both in favor of the Outlaws here. So they're going to get up close to 50%.
Dante can't really worry too much about Shax for the time being. Connects the slow here on the back line and constantly waylaying them. Sparker's going to be able to get alive, but only just. There had to be an effective body grenade to keep him standing, and Dante is everywhere. Really hard to keep tabs on this Doomfist, and the Spitfire get absolutely grounded.
Yeah, they've not taken the Spitfire lightly as the Outlaws have come out today. Dominated thus far early on. There's really nothing much to talk about from London, right? They just kind of keep like running in.
Well, no, there's one kill to talk about.
Yeah.
Hardy got it. So outside of that, they've been shut down. And a lot of the focus is on Hardy early. Look what Hardy's trying to do, right? Get some info and plate from that mini health pack.
Just the chaos that Dante causes by going in and just not able to react to it. Is look, Hardy in a position here where he's gonna no chance of healing him at all. So far away, nothing to obviously keep himself alive. It's been a blowout.
Oh my. Pelican focusing beam, cuts it off short there as Sparky does have a tactical visor. Dante power blocks most of it, and Merritt slaps him down from behind the defensive position of that Doomfist. Hardy needs to jump in, but he knows it's essentially to his demise. Try and last as long as he can here, but the Primal Rage is going to keep him off the point.
Pelican.
Yep, about as one-sided as you could ask for here. Brutal stuff, and that Echo inclusion that Houston is still sticking with, man, it really lets them burst down those tanks awful quick.
And I think what you see there is also probably a reason they have like a pretty strong Reinhardt-based like setup, right? That you see the supports constantly being separated, and whether that's from Dante and Pelican like putting down some damage, right, from Hadi. Like, you know, when you play that brawly type of comp with the Reinhardt and the Mei, and there's not really an opportunity to get separated, right? I mean, if you're separating yourself, you're playing that completely wrong, where you see them struggle a little bit here with some of the pressure that comes out from playing the dive versus the dive.
3, 2, 1.
The Spitfire, though, they're going to have to figure it out, because it's not as if any of these stages are going to lend itself to playing the Reinhardt. The only person who would do it on this map is LH Cloudy.
Yep. So you see from the overhead, just kind of where everybody's poking around here. Outlaws have taken some high ground. But see, like, if Hadi goes to chase, like, Dante's already in his backline, and, like, you see from there, like, his perspective, like, where does he go? Like, he goes any further, there's no chance of getting support. He goes backwards. His team might be dead by the time he gets there. It's a tough spot.
See, Dante's quite happy just to, like, try and catch one or both backliners in a seismic slam aura.
That's really good, though. So, it's like a biotic grenade that came out from London, but also they kept the supports alive long enough, and Sparker got enough damage down on the Pelican to get him weak, and then Hadi can jump in, finish it off. I think that's the type of, like, action you're going for. Like, not really trying to be, like, super proactive with the Winston, which is kind of odd to say. But more of like, okay, let Shax get into the back line, put some damage down, or just to Iris, and like then try and follow it up with the Winston.
Sparker was hit by a biotic grenade there, but I think, yeah, most of the heads on the Outlaws had turned squarely in Hardy's direction. He took a faceful and couldn't get away in time. So Houston very quickly right the wrongs and get back in control. Dante would love to charge a power block here, but no avail.
Yeah, not going to be able to do so. Looks like he's going to try and get some high ground, maybe set up a big seismic slam. You can see him on the outline there, kind of playing that high ground with Pelican. So, you know, look at kind of the two high grounds for the Outlaws, right? Obviously, Dante and Pelican can't really do much from there, but still, just that crossfire, knowing that's going to collapse on you is going to be tough.
Pelican has to play pretty close here to the edge. If he sort of goes from left to right from this perspective, Spark is well positioned to light him up pretty quickly. Merritt goes down, Hardy made that dive in there, and Lastro realizes he can't do too much about it. There's a dive on the other side. Pelican able to get rid of Landon, but Hardy is getting some work done on his Winston.
Yeah, Hardy doing real work there with Shax as they just go right on in. They're able to get like 3. I think Hardy finished those off 2 of those. It should be London able to flip the point back in their favor, and Mitch, they didn't use anything to do that. That was like a Meteor Strike and a Nano from the Outlaws. In London, didn't have to use anything to be able to take that fight. I mean, that is huge. Now you have everything coming into this next one. You can definitely get the percentage of above higher than Houston.
Shax and Hardy converging on the back line is definitely going to be the recipe for success for London.
Hanging this to show his teammates exactly.
Yeah, if there's a Winston dive, there's a double dash and pulse bomb stick attempt. Okay, Landon goes down early here, so the Spitfire allowed the initiative to be taken away from them, but Sparker has a pretty big gun right now. Pelican forced to duplicate here. Sparker in a little bit of trouble. Dante's having to take him down, but Merritt's gone on the other side of the map. So Pelican, even in Duke form here, doesn't really have the teammates to help him work this retake, and he'll have to back up.
Yeah, you got a big nano visor there from Sparker. Even though you lost one early, he's able to get 2 players and then also get 1 weakest. Look at this, the Outlaws, they made it an adjustment. They've actually gone to the Reaper now. So the Reaper with the Doomfist, probably trying to catch Hardy out here, but Hardy's going to have the Primal and be able to keep himself up.
Teams focus Hardy a lot in this matchup, regardless of what he's playing. Houston now have 2 of the worst DPS for Winston to go up against, arguably. Here, that sound barrier as well. Landon gets caught on the corner, but Dante decides not to go for it. Admiral taken by Iris there, and yeah, Hardy's going to be in primal range now. Good sleep had to be there from Landon, but there's a lot more to do, especially with Hardy sleeping himself.
Yes, the sound barrier from Admiral. I'd love to know exactly where he ended up popping that, because it only connected with him and Landon. I wonder, just trying to desperately keep both supports alive?
It was
ended up
inside that small room. I honestly think he went for the beat and got knocked out of position by Dante in that low room.
Yeah, that might have been it. So both teams kind of traded out their tanks towards the end. So I wonder if London tries to get on the point. Touched there for a second, just trying to get a fight going.
Hardy here just wants to try and get some decent position to start with. Spark hitting him with the Biting Grenades. Not a great start though. Landon, that's a sleep dart, not missing, or rather, completely missing. Dante though is pretty accurate there with that big old punch hitbox. And this is the Outlaws now putting the Spitfire in dire straits indeed. 95 and counting, Matthew.
Much closer though this round. You know, Sparker almost getting this tack visor at the end, which could have made the difference, but doesn't end up with it, as it's the Houston Outlaws. They'll take map 1, as Dante's Doomfist pretty effective at disrupting that back line.
Yeah, look, Matt, I think you obviously give them a bit of props there and saying that there's definitely an improvement over the course of those 2 maps here, but they'll still be smarting, the Spitfire, heading into the break, feeling like they maybe had so much more to show here on Ilios. The Outlaws, obviously, Pelican was pretty dangerous. 9 final blows for 3 deaths. And I've got to say, Hardy really gave a good account of himself there on that Winston. Very involved in those fights. He was 6 and 6 by the end of it. So, couple of, good signs for the Spitfire, but it'll take more than that to take the Outlaws. Stick around, everybody. Map 2 coming right up.
Please don't let me in.
Please don't let me into my zone. I just need some time of my own. All these people trying to get a conversation. You can conversate to that tone. My gut eyes on that throne, yeah. So I'm never alone, yeah. All these people trying to box me in. I'm in my weather, it's on, yeah. Now they ask where I'm at. Making hits that line back. I'm MJ, I'm 2-3, man. I just need some time back. I'm zoned in like defense. My life gone, no recess. But I live my best one, so I got no regrets. So I'm gone. Finally back in my home. I'm working like so much, they swear I had me a clone. Can't answer my phone now, just leave it there, that tone. Ballin' can't beat me up, cause I'm back in my zone now.
As usual, the Outlaws sticking to both of their guns there, especially that Pelican Echo pick on map number 1, Matthew. Some teams starting to shy away from it a little bit with the rise of Tracer, but the Outlaws still make it look good.
Yeah, and it's a lot of pressure that's put on by the Doomfist that allows you to play that even when we saw Shax on that Tracer. You know, in the words of Super, not to call anybody out, but Backbone, and he's in. But he's probably going to play May this time.
I know the context of that clip is not flattering for him, I'll have you know.
I know, but his May has been good. You know, that's what's really been good for Backbone when we see them in the game, as now going over to Eichenwald. You think they play something like a May Reaper potentially? You know, they get the Reinhardt in the mix. Might be in for a different game.
I think this is the map where we've seen teams struggle the most with breaking up this sort of Reinhardt May-based composition. Johnny used a clip in the pre-show as an example of this. It was actually where the Shock were able to break it, but it took quite a lot for San Francisco to find a way to sort of unravel this. And at different points on the map, you have to play differently against it, right? Playing against, you know, you're defending against the May Reinhardt, you know, on the second part of the map as opposed to the last part of the map can require different approaches here. So I don't hate this look at all from London. I think a lot of teams don't get practice scrimming against it because not everyone scrims London.
Right. I feel like it was there was like an interview with one of the players, I think from London, that basically said like Atlanta was not going to play them. And to be honest, I kind of get it, because like if London's the only team that's going to play this way, trying to practice against them is not going to be great practice for the rest of your week. Right?
Yep. It doesn't translate to any of your other matchups.
Right. It doesn't really kind of help you out unless other people start adopting it and playing it. So you kind of like learn on the fly, so to speak, or think that, you know, the composition that you have is going to be better. Like I talked about, you will see Backbone on May, you'll see Hottie on Rhine, and then a Batiste here in the mix where, yeah, you're playing a composition that's a little bit more stagnant, not really going to be a ton of mobility, not like charging down a ton of people, where you can actually have everybody grouped up, get use out of that immortality field.
I mean, yeah, we see plenty of teams just forego the Lucio in favor of Brig on this first point, right? You can LOS, you know, enemy hit scan pretty comfortably, you get a ton of healing. You know, the Spitfire still want to try and maneuver Ryan into power position, so still fancy the speed boost just to be able to have these small impulses at key moments in fights here. So this is a very classic, a very specifically London Spitfire look here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see how it matches up against the Outlaws, who definitely also set in their own ways, albeit different ones.
A little bit of a flank here. So the Outlaws actually go with a Reaper Genji setup. Well, who does Dante decide to go to? Yeah, they're going to try and put pressure on Landon. Get him low. Yep. And it forces out, you know, Batista's self-heal as well. So you got all of his cooldowns out pretty much.
Dante's living a little dangerously right now, but he sees Backbone coming, he sort of backs out. Power block here, does not much again. Can he catch Landon out? Pelican follows up that dive, and oh dear, this comp struggles without that Baptiste.
Completely ignoring Hardy like he doesn't exist.
Oh man.
2 times, like we just saw, get right on top of Landon, and making his life difficult. And Hottie at that point, everybody's spread out. The composition for the Outlaws has so much mobility and just fast that, like, who does he even go for? like there's not an opportunity for him to put down big damage on the Rhine. I think London try and take some high ground here, so they should do with that Soldier 76. So I wonder if you potentially try and send like Hottie down with the May to play closer. He's not really going to get much value out of it otherwise.
Landon has to heal, in 2 areas. Oh man, it's just, he finds himself caught in between the play there, trying to make sure Spark is topped up. but also keep his tank alive is a pretty tough dichotomy, a tough balance to strike there. As Baptiste, Merit now thinking about the high ground once more. Iris is down, so Spike at least able to trade out sort of high throughput support for support, and that's an immortality field. Merit says, job done, I'm out of here.
Yeah, I mean, they're getting the cooldowns of landing out so fast, so whether it be Merit, whether it be Dante going on in, Pelican up on the high ground, just getting in Sparker's face, allowing the rest of the team to move on through the choke. So that is Hottie jumping down from the high ground there. Yeah, look at this. I mean, Houston has taken this high ground pretty much from London. Is London now is going to rotate around?
Nanoblade here, landed immediately, pops. That was a biotic grenade to start that off. Great Blizzard, great response, honestly. Yeah. But you've lost your Baptiste here, so that immortality field, just forget about it. Right. And what are you going to do about this cart moving right now? Dante just turns Admiral into a frog pancake. And Backbone, ooh, not a good look, man. Yeah, yeah, we were really wondering like how this Doomfist would play against the Reinhardt setup, and it has looked like it is quite effective. As it was in Overwatch 1, Matt.
Yeah, it is looking like it's quite effective. Backbone over to Sombra now, so potentially trying to hack Dante, take his abilities offline for a second, like blow him up. Maybe that's kind of the play here.
Yeah, I mean, do they defer for that?
The Outlaws, I don't know. Really fast from the Outlaws.
Enemy here.
The hack target has to be the Doomfist here.
Watch out for this one.
Okay, revealed before he got hacked, now dived on, forced to translocate out. So nothing from that foray. Tough for Backbone. You still need that window to find the damage. Oh, that's gross. Okay. Merit getting real close to the air matrix, able to take down Backbone as he tries to back up, but it's a trade. Dante is down and Merit is under pressure.
You know, like, what is Hottie going to do in this position, right? And now puts himself up with the shield, just trying to run away, but the Reaper getting in his face. There's some extra damage from Sparker. That'll make the difference.
Oh, there it is. That's a Hardy Shatter. Yeah, look, you hold M1 for the boys, Matt. I don't know what else to tell you. Sparker can, you know, do work from behind that. Hardy just needs to keep that shield up and keep creating a bit of space. Reinhardt's nice. I mean, you just create space because you have a shield.
It's a nice play by Backbone. Chases Pelican all the way back to the spawn. Knew he was quite low. Finishes him off, so that's going to buy some more time here for London. So they need it. I mean, they cannot let the Outlaws keep going on that pace. They like capture the second checkpoint. The Outlaws, they like five plus minutes. Gonna have to dwindle this clock down real low.
There's always the question of what happens when that nanoblade comes up again. All right, see, the hack is so short-lived, right? Dante, like on his profile, that hack symbol's there, but he can still jump out.
Right, but he takes extra damage from Backbone. But if Backbone has to back out, it doesn't really do much, right?
Oh my, Pelican. One with the blade, more to come. Surely everybody grouped up in that area. Yep. Lasher and Iris are able to just handle the rest of the players that were there. And Pelican all smiles right now. Not even a Sombra, the dishonest play, can ruin his day.
So you do have a attack visor here with an amp matrix for the London Spitfire. You can just kind of like kite this though, if you have the Houston Outlaws, right? You can just like break line of sight. So look at this position that they've kind of put Sparker into. Is like, what does he do from here? Is that's not going to be able to be shot through that amp matrix. It's going to be the amp matrix on one side. They're going to use the meteor strike.
So clever. He's about to get hacked there, so it's going to turn power block off and make him eat most of that attack visor damage, but he gets out just in time. Now forcing the rest of the Spitfire into the back corner, and they're not getting out. That's brutal stuff. Yeah. Dante extends his hand and says no.
They just have not been able to pick up enough kill. Like, they just haven't been able to kill Dante at all. I mean, like, he's just getting into the entire team of London, you know, causing all these problems for the supports, and they're just letting him kind of get out. Whether it's like the May, they've tried the Sombra, Tracer, you know, dive in them. It just really has not worked thus far for the London Spitfire. Definitely has to be a bit of a worry that I know London's kind of bread and butter not working here.
Houston have the win condition against London's composition pretty safely in hand, right? I think that was demonstrated straight away at the start of that round with that dive forward from Dante and Pelican with the follow-up. That was difficult for the Spitfire to sort of bounce back from. And like you mentioned, Hardy was being ignored. Yeah, look at Dante. I mean, I'm going to knock you guys back. He didn't charge a power block from the attack visor before he got out, but I mean, his displacement is so good, and all of the Spitfire have to play close anyway, around the right of the Baptiste. So plays into Dante's hand there if he wants to prevent a stall.
So how do you think this is going to go for London on offense? I'm curious your opinion on it. Like,
yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to see how much space Houston actually give them here with this Reinhardt look.
I think they're going to collapse hard on them, especially now that they got the Echo in the mix.
I don't hate that because Pelican can obviously use that roof and just sort of, you know, get into the backline pretty quickly. I think the only issue is that if they sort of get caught in like a Maywall scenario, they don't want to be on the wrong side of the choke here. So I think in that sense, they sort of opt to give some ground here. But again, you use the clock tower. This is really where you just want to set your Echo up so she can't be shot at all by Sparko.
You see London almost inviting them into that close area, right? That's kind of like the spots they want to, yeah, that's kind of where they want to fight in. Houston not really falling for it as far as Dante's in a rough spot. Okay, now you're able to get him out.
Nicely done. I mean, they have him in a position where he cannot escape there. He's forced to power block without his cooldowns up, and the burst damage was there. So London get it done differently. I think they really just exploited a positioning issue from Dante.
I agree, but it looks like the Outlaws are going to try and contest this again. Is Backbone using a Maywall going to go up and try and contest the high ground? Gets absolutely slept there by Iris, so now the May's out of the equation.
Yeah, I don't know if he, maybe he didn't know what he was running into when he went upstairs there. Pelicans, by the way, able to stay on a line of sight of any of the enemy hits, get a long range damage and just pummel Hardy. And there they are, tail between their legs. 2 ticks though, Matt, at least.
They're going to go to the Sombra again, so we haven't seen a ton of teams in the West run Sombra. We've seen a little bit more in the East, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of like typical though, right? Like even like in Overwatch 1. It's just, I don't know how effective the Sombra's going to be here.
I think Sparker can't get value out of that air matrix. Hardy was in a completely different position there, so he has to turn away. He can't even get value out of his own ultimate there. Dante hacked just as he goes for the punch. It looks like he was actually going to bail on it anyway, but it needs to be healing. Nice defensive biotic grenade. Hardy now has you know, his medial strike available, so get out of jail free card. Things starting to get a little hairy, as Hardy would like to ensure. Dante's so hard to stop here.
Astro's going to kill Backbone, so Backbone's trying to put some pressure on the backline. He's dropped by the Lucio.
Looks like Sparko, okay, gets last round. He's actually playing from the hunting lodge by the looks of things. He gets himself 2. Shatter there came out from Hardy. It looks like it was blocked by Pelican, who duped the Reinhardt, by the way. Very, very cheeky.
Yeah, but it's going to be Sparker's tack visor that gets it done, so able to pick up some players with that ultimate. Merit now will go over to Reaper here. So Reaper's always been kind of a historic counter. Nothing really kind of counters Sombra, but always been pretty good against Sombra. Where now the Outlaws will play Reaper Genji against this. So wonder if we see them trying London go back to the May potentially. The Admiral here with an ultimate. So see, if you're the Outlaws, just try and get this sound barrier out. It's kind of your goal.
This is pretty all in. Pun not intended, I guess, from the Outlaws. Just, I mean, you know, a lot of the time Genji is sort of preferred, or people shy away from, is that they like the Tracer's ability to get out after getting in. Iris?
Yeah, see him?
Yeah, he didn't see him. He can get burst here if he's not careful. Yeah, it's all too easy from that position. I mean, if Sparker finds both, he's just single-handedly turn this one around. Good response here. Sparker has the Serpentine his way to the low ground, but Dante's been taken out. The Sombra hack starting to pay off here for Backbone. A beat for the Spitfire when they are when they're not short-handed was interesting, but it'll work.
Probably didn't need it because you also use the air matrix there. I'm surprised that Merit didn't see Sparker. It looked like on our screen, like the Reaper kind of like turned a little bit. Would have had a little bit of a view.
Oh, no, he missed it. Oh, Hardy. Well, maybe go back to practicing Tomb Raider, my friend.
We've all been there.
Yeah, very unfortunate. Little air control on Overwatch is good, but sometimes why not?
Reinhardt charge with the maneuverability doesn't work in the air.
Yeah, Lara Croft absolutely shuddering in the grave. We have a
EMP
nano boost online
as well.
Man, EMP's filthy.
Yeah,
in this build of the PvP beta. That percent damage is just nasty. Okay, that bio doesn't hit. No, things turn against the Outlaws as they drop down. They need to finish the job, so despite the fact that they take a bunch of damage and they're hacked, they're able to find a 2 for 2. Pelican has a blade here. Now, with Iris having already used his nano previously in the fight, I'm surprised he doesn't go for it here. But I think the Outlaws are happy enough containing Hardy and the rest of the Spitfire.
Right, this is totally fine for the Outlaws, right? Just like keep like muddying up these fights, extending them, just keep them going long. Like you finish the map with 242 in the bank. A ton of time to keep this one going.
That deflection with more damage than the blade itself. Pelican able to drop down with a couple of slashes and find something, but landing's immortality field prolongs the lifespan of most of these Spitfire players. Unfortunately, it won't protect them once Merit really starts to stick to them.
I just don't know if these Reinhardt comps are going to work against what the Outlaws are doing. I don't know if maybe the Spitfire, I feel like they've seen enough of those today to try something different, but it seems like thus far they've not been able to get big value with the Reinhardt, right? Like Hottie said, I think like one shatter we've seen. Like, and then,
he got blocked as well.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean the one on the previous arm? Yeah.
And then just not able to keep the supports alive. Like.
Not too shabby from Hardy there. He's at least able to interrupt this Death Blossom, but the damage is already done. Sound barrier straight in with the offensive here from the Outlaws and have the Spitfire again in a really nasty spot. The thing is that the Outlaws are, I guess they're trying to benefit, Matt, from the same thing that the Spitfire are, is that proximity, that grouping up.
Yeah, and the Doomfist is just way more mobility, obviously, than Reinhardt, so Dante able to make plays for the back line, be able to jump back out to his team.
Leave Hardy behind.
You can't really do that. Yeah, they're just ignoring Hardy. Just letting Hardy just kind of like run around and do whatever.
Sound barrier forced here, but Sparker already goes down, so Pelican waits this one out a little bit. That hack is annoying. He's able to find the deflect, of course, and continue the pressure from medium range here with these shurikens. The Spitfire are committed to this course of action now. Pelican was hacked there, so great time to push into him, but Backbone's not ready for Dante to arrive on the scene. Hardy goes down to half. He's taking a bunch of damage from Iris in the distance as well. Hardy has that shadow available, and Landal's lost that immortality field. That EMP, though, not too shabby at all. Pelican, Dante, Iris all hit with that one. Admiral trying to break line of sight here as Backbone tries to pressure from the card, and the blade comes from the depths. Connection not necessary. The Spark is too far away from the action. That's 2 on the trot here for the Outlaws. Eichenwald will go to the green.
Yeah, the EMP was good there from Backbone, but everybody was so weak at that time already. Just a big slam from Dante, some extra Reaper damage, and Landon and Hottie, even with the immortality field, that was gone within seconds, not able to stay alive long enough as the Outlaws looking really good thus far. I wonder if we see something different from London.
Yeah, what else do they have up their sleeve? We've seen the Winston dive comps, didn't work on map 1. Now the Ryan May also doesn't work on Eichenwalder. Map 3 will be Circle Royale, another chance for the Spitfire to stay alive. Righto, let's keep it 100. Did you take an L in your pick'ems yesterday? If you did, you're just like me. It's not too late to turn it around. Be sure to make your picks every week during the Kickoff Clash qualifiers to win cash and new prizes like OWL tokens. You can even make your picks on the OWL mobile app. APAC is booming me to no end. I have no idea what's going on, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, it is just all over the place right now in APAC. This is the time of year, though. You know, with the pick'ems, obviously a long season. It's where you got to take some gambles. It's where you got to take some risks here early on, you know? Like,
you mean like the 2 London predictions on our Watchpoint show today?
Yeah, you know, sometimes it doesn't work, but
But
you learn here at the beginning of the season, right? And then you're able to
wait a minute.
make the right
We just had the conversation about losing is not necessarily learning.
Yes, it's not. In this type of situation, though, it's just, you know, taking more of a shot in the dark, right?
Right.
Not really learning much of anything. You're just kind of seeing
it's for content, really, isn't it?
You are watching the teams lose, and then you are learning off of that. So technically, you're not really losing. Piggy in for Dante. Dante's been tearing it up, but
Give me the Sigma. Give me the Sigma.
Yeah, you'll probably see it. No substitutions from London, so London probably going to rock out with what we just saw there on Eichenwald here on Circuit Royal.
Right. Would that be so bad, Matthew? Or we said, do the Spitfire have anything else? Do they sort of need to find something different? Circuit Royal, you know, kind of mimics the precipitous climb of Eichenwald in a similar manner at some points, right?
I don't think you can just play like Reinhardt-based stuff all season. Like, you're going to have to come up with some type of other composition or something that works for your team. So to see like this early on, like kind of revert to some of this for London, and I know honestly, it's worked against some teams, just has not worked here against the Outlaws as far as the Outlaws. Is this going to be a Reinhardt of their own? All right, so Piggy, traditionally like a off-tank player, right? In Overwatch 1, will be picking up the Reinhardt here.
All right, yeah, obviously it was Jungkook playing the Reinhardt for the Outlaws last season.
Yeah, this is the cheeky spot.
When you say cheeky, does that mean it's legal?
Well, yeah, you can. So that is actually like a spot you can actually stand on. Like we've seen, like, well, you know, in the tech beta, you can have like Widowmakers up there.
They're sussing about that.
London's gonna know exactly that they're above them. Probably just trying to run down Pelican here, but they take the TP back.
All right, maybe a few more of them should have taken the TP back. Immortality field blown up pretty instantly.
Yo! Presidente. He's out.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
And there he goes. Now he's back.
Had to do it to us.
I kind of like that spot above the spawn. That was something that you know, so I was talking to Captain Planet about it. I was like, I feel like there's gonna be like some teams or people that just get up there and start, you know, just spawn camping, and that Pelican just takes a hammer to the face there from Hadi. Is this type of gameplay he wants.
I don't think they're ready for this Hanzo. I don't know if the Houston Outlaws are just ready for this raw burst. Pelican definitely had Ice Block available to him there. Hadi. Oh, the trading in the neutral. This is definitely where Hadi probably feels like he's favored, right? Very experienced Reinhardt player. Iris, you're kidding me, mate.
Right.
Sorry.
Little trying to make a play. Little 1v3. Ant Matrix there.
His player I trust.
Look,
it's
they don't.
him, but
they don't have a lot of you know, heroes that could use the Ant Matrix, so it's fine.
I don't know, man.
Nothing big time there. It's all good.
Pelican on the May. Still. All right, there's a lot of walls.
Yeah.
Many walls.
I mean, look at that, though. It just completely negates the Ant Matrix there from Landon, as the Spitfire don't want to push on through that. So they'll back up. So I think the Spitfire, you see the position they're playing, they want to actually have this fight coming from neutral. Yes. As a nice shot there from Spark for a headshot on the Pelican.
Oh, okay. Nasty boy Piggy tries to go for a very cheeky TP shadow play, but Hadi, he was not born yesterday, man.
Maybe the Outlaws are trying to like, they're trying like to make a little bit of a highlight reel mixtape here. As you know, we've seen like
who was it that last year on Hanamura?
The double, it was the Outlaws, right? Wasn't it when they against the Shock on Havana, right? Didn't they do that? Or,
Hardy.
may have been Hardy,
Hardy did a TP shatter from behind on the high ground.
Yeah, you might be right.
Hanamura. I mean,
but so far we've had like the double TP shatter. We've had a 1v3 and Matrix come in.
That was Dan, excuse us. Dan with that crazy play. Sparker's Hanzo match's been pretty deadly so far. There's a Blizzard in play here for Backbone. Pelican's going to have one of his own in just a second, and there won't be a sound barrier for the Spitfire. It's defensively placed, zoning, if you will. Sparker claims merit there with a Dragon Strike at long range, but another Ant Major just comes out. This time Ira's actually using it to help his team. Nice to see. Pelican getting a lot of value from it as well.
Yeah, really nice Dragon there from Sparker to like try and split players off, which is not enough.
You deal with this.
In a world of trouble there, yep. All right, so Houston, they stabilize on defense, but good offense thus far here from the London Spitfire. I was going to say, do you need to change to get up to this high ground? They'll bring in the Sim here. So Sim will be able to TP players up directly, maybe kind of turn the tides of where this fight's going to take place.
Okay, so they get across the expanse at the bottom of this sort of high
The issue
ground.
here is there's only one spot. Like, they know there's only like 2 places they can come from. All right, so they back out.
Iris is very safe against this comp now as well. Only the Baptiste Air Matrix can really stop him. Is Iris out of position?
Line of sight here.
Yeah, he is. That TP expired and Iris is still up there on the high ground. He needs to be a little careful. Hardy, it's balls and beams right now. And big, burly, metal swing hammers. Merritt usually gets caught by that one, but Hardy's forced to back away to his side of the wall. Happy enough getting immortality filled, I suppose. Man, we haven't seen a matchup like this yet this year. Matthew, the Reinhardt mirror, the neutral. Such memories. Lennon and Sparker.
They know Johnny's in studio today.
I expect to hear a full dissertation from the man. Because so far, I mean, the Outlaws look pretty comfortable in this sort of setup, right? Pelican switching off the sort of, you know, the high burst potential DPS to something a little bit more controlling here than May. And Merritt also on Symmetra, right? Really complementing the Reinhardt shield well, getting a lot of damage from behind that. London switching off the Hanzo, to me, seemed kind of rough for them. I mean, Spark is finding a ton of key eliminations early in the round.
I feel like, though, if they stayed on the Hanzo, it would have been tough to kind of get up towards that high ground. Is like, okay, we got a little bit of a wraparound here from the Outlaws. Is now London making their way back. Nice pin here from Hardy.
Beautiful. Hardy finds a Fire Strike elimination on Iris as well. Piggy doing his very best to try and keep the Pelican in a safe spot, but unfortunately, that Haven is going to expire now. The Blizzard online here for the next fight. The Spitfire will get themselves towards that next checkpoint.
And they should be able to take it, right? A ton of ultimates here. They're going to have all 5 online going into this next fight. This is a fight that you absolutely should win with that much to dump into it.
Here's that wall. Sparker playing from his side of it until he gets close enough to get at the right shield. Sound barrier for both sides. The Pelican not benefiting from it there. Another big shatter from Hardy. Beautiful stuff. Merritt's knocked to the ground and Piggy's not long after him. Cleaning house this man on the Reinhardt. Ooh, okay. 5 kills? That's filthy. That's Hardy for you.
Hardy representing main tanks everywhere. As, well, what's going to go on with the main tank role, you know, right? Players who can play that Reinhardt, play, you know, Orisa, characters like that, is, you know, some of these players who played more of the off tank, and then other, like, even DPS picking up the tank role. Hardy standing tall as a Chad here on the Reinhardt, just dominating this far.
All right, Matt. Some Chads can be short. Hardy charging away. Going to be connected here by Piggy as that Blizzard came out from Backbone, force a rotation from Houston, but they feed themselves to the trash compactor for the most part. Hardy going to be chilling under the warming rays of that immortality field, and the Outlaws have entered the Spitfire's arena, Matt, and they're coming off second best.
Yeah, this is oddly, when they try and go for the Reinhardt mirror, this is when the Spitfire really turned up. I think I was in agreement with you. I thought we would see like a Sigma here or something when we saw Piggy come in. I did not expect the Reinhardt play.
Okay, double mail wall there. Backbone trying to section off Piggy at the very least here. Tough to break this position as attackers. Lana loses that immortality field now. The Outlaws are going to have to split away from the Air Matrix. How do they handle the situation with the core?
Yeah, Hardy went in a little bit deep there. He was kind of just in all alone, nothing he could really do. Is you do get some good car progress. I do agree that you have to try and take this high ground to then move the car underneath. I think giving up that high ground and then trying to push on through is really difficult, as you see London use the TP, try and get up here straight away. They're gonna wait for the TP to come up again and just go right into them.
I mean, why not? I guess Hardy's hoping to be close to a shatter.
TP right in, yeah, and then maybe a swing and a shatter. I don't know.
The floating ducky looks on as the Outlaws try and formulate their final defense. Okay, they have switched places.
10 seconds.
Now the Outlaws are a long way from spawn. The upside is their spawners will now help them pincer, I guess. Maywall comes out here, but the Spitfire need to do something. They need to make something happen. Hardy is waiting for someone to get close enough to land a big shatter. But that's a Blizzard comes out. Here we go. Backbone might be caught. That has to go for an ice block. And there it is. Hardy's shatter. He gets frozen, but there's a sound barrier now for the Houston Outlaws. They can work with this. Sparker though undetected. The backline. A lot of damage. It's 2 eliminations for him until Piggy brings him down. And Hardy needs to do the rest here. Lastro trying to force the aggressors back. He'll try and buy some time for the Outlaws, who definitely lost that fight.
Are they going to have enough here, though, London, to get this over the line? You're going to have respawns coming in here for the Houston Outlaws. It'll be Merit on the Tracer. He'll get a touch. Hardy takes him out before he can recall, though.
Mortality field. Okay, Iris had to survive that. He had to stay alive. Sourbear it out for the London Spitfire, and Piggy cannot hold up in the heat. It's Pelican to buy a bit of time in Wraith form as Lastro tries to touch and is unsuccessful. Spitfire get the map done here. They love to brawl. And they show us exactly why they're known for this composition.
Yeah, this is the exact type of game that the London Spitfire wanted to play all series long. To get into a brawl scenario here with the Houston Outlaws, because this is where they feel at home, and completing the map here is quite difficult. So really good here for the London Spitfire. No time in the time bank, but still, they have a lot to fall back on if things go sideways. What do you think the Outlaws are going to do on their offense? Do we think we see the Reinhardt again? Do you think we maybe see Sigma? Like, I don't know. Do you try and move away from what we just saw?
I think that Sigma is pretty disadvantaged if the enemy team are speeding at you.
Yeah, that's true.
In general. You really want to play a poke game with Sigma, and I just don't think that's an option with the Symmetra main Reinhardt staring at you.
This is the Hardy 5K, right?
Yeah. Hardy has 6 total Earthshatter kills.
Dude, that is sick.
From 7 stuns. Yeah, he's 12 final blows, by the way. He leads his team by 4. Next closest is Backbone at 8 and 4, respectively. I'm going to say that Merit had a very, very quiet round. Obviously playing the Symmetra much of the time, but unfortunately not able to sort of, you know, get these final blows that you sort of need to if you're charged up and in a position to start to mow people down. So, see what he can do here on the attacking side.
And we'll see how Houston decides to position themselves. Use the teleporter to try and make a play, as Merit knows exactly where these Symmetra turrets are going to be. Puts one there, actually, so you can just kind of see if the players are going to try and come through that flank, you know, get some damage down. So it's like Sparker may have went in there and finished off those turrets as well. So this is the type of game, though, like we mentioned, that London wants to play. You know, if you told London that the Outlaws would try and match them in a Rhine mirror, they would have been thrilled coming into today.
Hardy, Mortality Field has to be used there, but it's not going to be enough to keep him alive. Nice job by the Outlaws there. They need to be able to get good value out of those speed boosts forward and the Maywalls.
Yeah, and they do just that there in that first fight, as Merit puts down some damage as well. It's really fast in terms of, I feel like London was able to hold a little bit longer there on that part of the map, where Payload's going to make it around that first corner, where London pretty much have 1 fight left before the Outlaws will take this first checkpoint.
Okay, last time we had ults by this point, so both teams sort of stalled out much longer here. This time, not the case.
These fire strikes, though, from Piggy, I mean, he was building up the shatter pretty quick.
Yeah, he's well ahead of Hardy, man. 2 more swings. Charged. He was going too greedy, maybe too aggressive. Oh, the air matrix there. I mean, Piggy was waiting for his fire strike cooldown for the same reason, Matt. Yeah. There's a feeling like he wanted his ult so badly that he overextended into Hardy.
Yeah, potentially. It looked like Backbone actually was trying to use that main wall to jump up to the high ground, make a play for Iris. These are some late staggers coming in here as well, so it's going to force the Outlaws to wait even longer, as London can buy themselves some more time, and they use that amp matrix in that last fight, but you're gonna have your Symmetra wall here. You're gonna have Hadi with these shatters. In the previous map we saw, the shatter didn't really make it that much of an impact, but with a Reinhardt versus Reinhardt, you can definitely see him getting some big ones off.
Hadi definitely seems more confident in this face-off. Getting a lot of value out of those shatters too. Both Ryans with those shatters. So how do you play this game? Simwall comes out from both sides here. This is a very awkward situation now. The Outlaws know they just need to play on the safe side of their own wall. Doesn't really matter what London are doing with theirs. They're trying to work it out. Merit stays charged through all of this, and that's the shatter. It's brilliant. Oh, it's so nice there from Hadi once more. The Outlaws caught on the back foot in the Ryan mirror. Pelican TP's forward, but his would-be opponent is able to get out via the same mechanism. Piggy wants to pressure here, but there's a sound barrier in play for the London Spitfire, and this is their bread and butter.
Yeah, it's a nice shatter from Hadi. I think connected with like 3 players there, and then a good sound barrier from Admiral at the end to allow them to push on through as Marriott moves away from the Symmetra, goes over to the Hanzo, as that was pretty effective for London, right? The Hanzo. See if they can make good use of it here for the Outlaws. If they've gotten stalled out here, is London just about 1 fight away here from putting up a really strong performance at Circuit Royal in this head-to-head Reinhardt battle.
35 seconds left in the round. A lot to play for right now. And for London, it's a proof of concept that not only does their comp work here, but they're better at it. Hadi a little low right now. Lennon using most of that amp matrix for that extra healing throughput. He has the immortality field still available now, down to 17 seconds.
So you look across the board. Maybe it's on Merit here to get a pick for the Outlaws to open things up.
Piggy gets caught by the wall, but Merit finds the pick, Matt. You foreshadowed it. Hadi going to try and make up the deficit here, but Piggy's playing much safer this time around. He's got no choice now but to try and go a little bit more aggressive on Hadi, who's taken down as he tries to charge away. Piggy almost has that Earth Shatter, but he needs the HP. And in the end, he doesn't need to leverage that ultimate. Nicely done by the Outlaws there. Piggy really playing on the more conservative side. Pays off.
And that was what opened it up for the London Spitfire in their fight. Being able to get a pick with that Hanzo is massive, as Merit opens things up. Headshot on the Sparker takes him out. Now, even though you lose that for London, you still burn a ton of time off the clock. I mean, 2 minutes and 12 seconds and counting to get up this uphill part of the map is going to be really tough. As London, they regroup. They got to take a fight here, though, Mitch. They're giving up tons of car progress.
Yeah, Piggy just trying to establish himself quite far forward here. Nice shatter. Hadi and Landon are connected, but again, because you're so far away from the rest of your team, opportunities for follow-up just do not present themselves. And essentially, all that ultimate ends up being is a bit of a, I don't know, bit of a brag and boast.
And look at this, London going to try and chase these players down. It looks like there for a second as they want to force them back, as they don't want to allow the Hanzo to get into a position where it can play at range and be effective. You want to close that gap if you're the London Spitfire. And Blizzard Shatter here. You may be able to get away with just that Shatter with how good they've been.
Blizzard here for Pelican, hoping to catch Landon, but Admiral actually speeds his Baptiste outside of that Blizzard. Sparker not so lucky, and Backbone's forced to ice block there. So a net positive for the Houston Outlaws. They get good value out of that Blizzard. A lot of ultimates used, though. Not much to work with now.
Yeah, so Blizzard plus the Dragon. A minute to go on the clock. Can you challenge this if you're the London Spitfire? Looks like you have Hadi there. You have a TP set up, so maybe you're able to make it back. It looks like they're trying to set up to potentially jump on for another attempt.
Oh, Hadi. This is dangerous. Good position from Merit. Nothing Hadi could do. Doesn't matter where he looked, which way he faced his shield. Merit was above and behind him with the Storm Arrow. And the Spitfire, well, they were never really in this fight.
Yeah, now you're rolling if you're the Outlaws. You'll be able to take that second checkpoint, but still, this is where completing the map is so huge for London. A minute and, 2 minutes, right, total. Once you cap this second point, to get all the way to the end of this map is not a ton of time with how difficult it can be because the defense is so much high ground. So Sparker is going to go away from Sim and go to Soldier 76. So trying to put some more damage down. Can also play a little bit more at range, kind of like the Hanzo from Merit.
Yeah, I mean, I was very interested in seeing how the Spitfire solved the problem of, you know, how the Outlaws were set up on defense. Neither team has that Symmetra in play anymore, right? So those sort of rapid repositions aren't really got a factor here. Piggy just says, all right, I'll keep you honest with as many fire strikes as I can muster. Keep this cart rolling. Eventually the Spitfire have to make a decision.
Yeah, eventually they have to do something. Oh, Sparker! That is not what trying to do there. It goes on a little bit of a flank. I mean, in that type of position, you kind of could have just played safe around Landon. That's going to be a Dragon Strike that goes straight through the Immortality field. This thing's falling apart here for London.
Merit is absolutely filthy on this Hanzo. Fantastic Dragon Strike up to that high ground, which is exactly where Landon was positioned to try and get value out of his amplification matrix. The Outlaws come up with an answer in a big way.
London's offense was good. Their defense, man, from the point in which the Outlaws took point A to here to the end, just some really poor, I think, decisions. Like when you have that much time on the clock for the Outlaws and you just kind of like trade damage on the bridge and let them just get so much card progress, like at least take a fight early on. And then they never give themselves a chance to like fully regroup and come out of the spawn and fight in like one of the harder points for the offense to get through. Some really questionable things there on defense from the London Spitfire, which actually leaves them in a scenario where they have less time on the clock now. No, a minute for the London Spitfire in their attack. It'll be a minute and 40 when the Outlaws get their turn.
Credit to the Outlaws, they're definitely forcing some errors for the Spitfire. I mean, Sparker getting caught while he tries to flank is not something you can always account on. But if you take, what, 2 or 3 Storm Arrows and have Iris looking in your general direction, I wouldn't be feeling too confident about my chances of survival either. That high ground wall was also really nice, right? Like, Houston are doing a couple of little things to put extra pressure on London, which makes those errors, right, a little bit more frequent or a little bit more likely. So we'll see if the London Spitfire now can make up this kind of deficit here. The Outlaws definitely know what they're going to be walking into this time.
3, 2, 1.
Outlaws with the similar setup on top of the spawn.
Stop the pain.
Very cheeky.
And then it's
I'll charge off that. So Merit here, I mean, Merit more than tripled his kills as he switched to Hanzo, who's able to have much more of a real impact on the game. Back on the Symmetric here, that was that utilities important.
Oh, that was a nice Maywall as well by Backbone and separate some players, but London not able to capitalize. They actually just lose Admiral from it, and that's huge. No speed here. Try and get around the corner, force a fight.
Best I can tell, Piggy was trying to charge Hardy and just vacuumed Admiral in on the way.
Yeah.
Little frustrating, does happen though. Sparker trying to work Piggy's shield down as much as he can. That Maywall will let Hardy get a little closer. TP is in the way though. And Hardy now has to back away a little bit more. Keep an eye on those immortality fields. They're going to be crucial this next fight because it's the last one.
Oh, you lose Admiral again here at the start. That is a huge pickoff for the Houston Outlaws. And the shatter comes down from Piggy, knocks him away from the cart, and it's going to have to be a crazy hold here from the London Spitfire, man.
Right, we talked about, I guess, how Hanzo can make this more volatile, right? Because you can find, random headshots and sort of turn the game on its head, and you'll think you're winning a fight until you've lost half your backline when Hanzo's just not even trying to hit them. In that case, you're watching Merit and Pelican both playing sort of low burst potential heroes. So it's not that they have, like a, instant kill potential on their team. Piggy is providing that with these wild charges set up by Pelican's walls, Matt. Looks really clean. And you can tell that London are a little bit off balance because the immortality fields come too late from them to save Admiral a second time.
Yeah, so Piggy says, they blame me, and then he says, I'm crying now. I don't know if he's like crying of sadness or like crying in the fact that like he's now popping off and they can't blame him. A little bit
crying in the club.
Mystery, yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody's responded to him, poor Piggy.
Damn.
On either team. See, London, they gotta be tremendous here on D. So Sparkle pulls out the Widowmaker here. All right, so you're really relying on him to get like picks, because if he doesn't get, if you don't get any picks with the Widowmaker, it's not like the extra damage for the Widow's making the difference, right?
I'm not sure I get it. I guess being able to play these longer sidelines is better, but once you get to the corner, I don't think you favor having the Widow. I guess they know they play this long sideline map. They have no choice. If the cart gets closer than that, the round's probably over. So Sparker functioning similar to Hanzo, but has less shield pressure here. So wants to punish Piggy when he has that barrier down, and that's a bit scary. He drops off the high ground as he
can't see
the
anything.
TP.
Yeah, you can't see anything. There's just this Maywall's on the way, no matter what high ground you go for. As
oh man, this is
things fall apart here for the London Spitfire at the end.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. It is a 3-0 for the Houston Outlaws. London try make use of the Widowmaker, which in theory is fine, right? You have a longer sideline to play from. You know you can't afford to give nearly as much ground as you had in the previous round. Unfortunately, the Houston Outlaws charge forward, and apparently Maywall's pretty good against Widowmaker when they're forced to the low ground. Look, we got some great moments from London in that series, man. I think that they have shown us that their comp looks pretty good on this particular map, right? They can make the Reinhardt, the May work. But when your gimmick gets copied by another team and they do it a little bit better, it might be time to start thinking about something else.
Yeah, for sure. No, maybe it's time to kind of try and pivot off of this. I'd love to see what they look like. I mean, I've said it a few times, but love to see what they look like with like a Poco Zarya type of look. But Outlaws showed how strong they are here today against a London team that I still think can beat a handful of teams in the league playing that type of style. That they won't be able to do what Houston did today, but Houston comes in, takes care of business.
Few potential candidates for player of the match here, but from us, it's definitely going to be Lastro, who over the course of the series, man, really, I tell you what, some big impact. A lot of time, these boops were pretty crucial as well. We saw on Well, he's instrumental in making it really hard for Landon to actually get a crucial sound barrier under the rest of his team. He partners up really well with Dante. Like, this aggressive style is exactly what you want if you're going to be playing the Doomfist, right? Doomfist has so many dive buddies to go in with here. Hardy, he just DI's the wrong direction at first. He could have maybe escaped that. That's the way the cookie crumbles there, and Lastro very, very solid. Those sound barriers very crucial in these brawl fights as they start to break into chaos.
Yeah, I was going to say, he had a really good game today in terms of landing the sound barriers, being efficient with those. Then the other side for London, we've seen some sound barriers that kind of went a little bit sideways at times, but yeah, you see the sound barriers provided per 10 minutes, 10. I mean, that is as good as it gets, especially when you're playing that type of brawly playstyle.
Yeah, low deaths per 10 as well for support, if I'm honest with you. Most of them are upwards of 4.5. So Lastro on many of these fights, despite being as aggressive as he has been, he's able to stay alive and continue to have that impact over the course of the team fight and the next, and again, build those beats really effectively. He's the kind of player where people said, okay, well, we saw Violet transition from playing flex support, over towards Lucio here. How's Lastro going to look in this lineup? Obviously, it looks like he's acclimated really well.
The traditional main support role, where you just kind of are playing, your Lucio, Mercy, Moira type of setup, seems to be just non-existent now. Where you have, flex supports in the past who can now play those heroes at a high level. Is like some of those are actually need to do a little bit more damage now, provide a little bit more of that to the team, and you've seen players like Violet and Lastro transition that role pretty well.
I hope that was a nice little appetizer for you, ladies and gentlemen, because coming up next, it will be another battle for California. Yeah. That's right. It's going to be sick. The Shock take on the Gladiators right here on the other side of these messages.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Upper Deck, the official trading card of the Overwatch League. And by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Welcome to Game Break, everybody. We're here now, joined by Pelican from Houston Outlaws. Pelican, hello, and also congratulations on the win. Please introduce yourself. 자, 일단 시작하기 전에 자기소개 간단하게 먼저 부탁드릴게요, 펠리칸 선수.
안녕하세요. 저는 휴스턴 아웃로드에서 DPS 맡고 있는 펠리칸이라고 합니다. I'm 펠리칸.
Alright, he said that in... Oh, okay, English, go. Yes, right now.
I'm 휴스턴 아웃로드 DPS 펠리칸. Handsome guy. Yeah.
Handsome guy! You are the most handsome guy. 제일 잘생긴. Alright, that's it, everybody. We're done. I'm just kidding. Alright, again, yes. Another great win for the Houston Outlaws team. I do have to ask, London Spitfire, your opponents today, are, known for their brawl composition. Did that help you get the victory today at all? Did you sort of utilize that information coming into today's match? 자, 일단 첫 번째 질문은, 어떻게 보면 오늘의 상대편인 런던 팀이 이 러쉬 조합으로 지금 저희 쪽, 이제, 웨스트 쪽에, 우리 지금 리전에는 좀 되게 유명한데, 좀 그런 정보가 오늘 승리로 이렇게 이끄는데 좀 도움이 됐나요?
일단 러시 팀이긴 한데 원래 저는 상대팀 러시 못한다고 생각해서 별로 그렇게 많이 생각은 안 한 것 같아요.
Okay, 그럼 그대로 하겠습니다. Alright, so Pelican, this is Pelican, what Pelican said. Pelican said that, they are known as a brawl team, but I personally think they're a pretty bad brawl team. So I didn't really think much of it, and we just went into the game. Alright, whoa, wow, that's spicy. I love it. Alright, my second question is sort of tied to that question as well. You guys had really fast, you guys won the first two maps really, really fast. And then going into Circuit Royale, the third map, you guys actually had a brawl mirror match against the London Spitfire. How did you guys come up with that decision? 자, 두 번째 질문도 아까 첫 번째 좀 러시 조합에 대해서 조금 더 연장된 질문이긴 한데, 첫 번째 두 맵을 굉장히 쉽게 이기시고 세 번째 맵 서킷 로얄에 들어오게 되면서 런던과 어떻게 보면 미러전이 있었죠. 이번에 서킷 로얄에서 휴스턴 팀도 러시 조합을 꺼내 들었는데 그거에 대한 이유가 뭘까요?
일단 저희는 말러시전을 이길 수 있다는 자신감이 있었는데 3세트 때 이제 피기 선수가 너무 하디 선수한테 벽을 느껴가지고 좀 힘들었는데 그래도 후반에 잘해가지고 네. 했습니다. 그냥 러시.
Alright, so going into the third map, we knew that if we had to do a brawl mirror match, we were pretty confident that we could win. But going into third map, I felt like, Piggy just felt that wall against Hottie, so we did have some difficulties in Circuit Royale. But at the end, we pulled through. We were able to clutch that victory, even with the mirror matchup against London Spitfire. All right, Pelican, a lot of great answers. I love talking to you. Thank you so much for your time. And again, congratulations on the win today. 항상 이렇게 좋은 답변해 주시는 펠리칸 선수 너무나 감사드리고 오늘 승리 너무나 축하드리고 다음에 또 뵙도록 하겠습니다.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
You love to see him, you love to hear from him.
Yeah.
Very handsome guy indeed,
Very
and
handsome.
best bird for sure. Now, you know what I find very interesting about this? You never bring up when you pick against a team during their interview. You somehow always seem to forget about that.
What was that?
That's weird. That's
Wait,
so
I don't think
strange.
anyone picked
So
on
strange.
Spitfire.
Yeah.
You didn't tell him that you chose London.
I don't understand what you guys are talking about.
Danny, I feel
I
like
know,
there's some
right?
bias here,
Usually-
right? In the interviewing?
No.
How about you learn Korean, Costa? How about you learn Korean and do the interviews, okay?
Okay.
You put that on
Yes,
Danny.
yes.
Hey, I mean,
I'm just
honestly,
saying it's a trend,
I'm just saying, your mics are open too. If you guys want to tell Pelican or the player that I'm talking to that I picked the opposite team.
Oh, it's rude. We wouldn't do
I wouldn't throw you under the bus like you always throw us under
I
the
always
bus.
do it. Yeah, well, it sucks to be you guys.
Actually does. That's just a fact. Now, another fact is that you guys were wrong. Costa and I were right. Costa, let's drop it in. Let's take a look at a match recap here and just tell them how wrong they actually were.
Yeah, there was some... It was interesting coming into this match because there was always going to be the clash of styles. When they had Dante in to play the Doomfist, the first question was, is the London Spitfire brawl going to work? But they actually came out on the dive to begin with my Shaxx ace in the hole card. And that ace in the hole did not work at all. The Houston Outlaws were just way better than the London Spitfire in the dive. it wasn't too surprising, to be honest. But we went on to Esports, and we actually got to see that head-to-head matchup. And once again, it really didn't look great. You can just see exactly what Johnny said in the pre-show. The Houston Outlaws were just able to flank around everywhere, do whatever they want, and it was almost impossible for them to keep Landon alive as they just ignored Hadi. Hadi's just running around with his big hammer trying to swing at anyone, and no one wanted to be friends with him. But going to the third map, Circle Royale, don't worry, Piggy wants to be friends, and Piggy had a bad time. This was, Hadi actually worked Piggy in the neutral so heavily on this Reinhardt head-to-head match. You know, Pelican just said they weren't afraid of the brawl from the London Spitfire. Maybe they should have been a little bit afraid, but unfortunately, I think London Spitfire kind of dropped the spaghetti a little bit in this final map. They really should have taken this one, but yeah, I know it's disappointing, Danny. But it was still a somewhat good showing from the London Spitfire, but they just don't have the flexibility and the strength to take down such a great roster like the Houston Outlaws.
It was a good showing from London Spitfires. Looking at their highlights, getting completely dominated. I mean, okay. The London Spitfire, bit of a mean pick. You come out with the dive composition, you lose on Ilios. I'm like, okay, you know, I'm not gonna ask for them to beat Houston Outlaws in the diver. Come out on Eichenwalde, you see Houston Outlaws, they're flagging around, they're doing all these things we talked about, and it's looking good. They're countering brawl, all right. You lose in the brawl head-to-head. The thing you're known for playing and what you're supposed to like specialize in and what you just made your entire, like, you built your reputation around, and you lose to Piggy Reinhardt. I mean, if you're the Houston Outlaws, you're laughing your way to the bank.
I mean, that's
you're having the best of time. Every time they're gonna see Lone Spitfire, they're like, remember when we beat Lone Spitfire in the brawl mirror? That was fun.
But to be honest, when they just like switched to the mirror, the first minute or so looked very good for London and not so great for...
Even on their attack,
they dropped the ball and everything before it was even cooked. Like, it was unfortunate. Also, Merit on Hanzo.
The defense on the last point on London Spitfire, I was like...
We can take a walk. We can talk about it later.
Yeah, I need
fresh air, get a walk.
I need some time.
We do have another match coming your way, so you might not want to be outside for too long, because that one you don't want to.
Oh, yeah.
It is the battle for California. Or so we set it up to be. I don't think the players care, but we care so much. It is, of course, the Gladiators against the San Francisco Shock. And once again, we're split here on the desk when it comes to our predictions. Now, this time, Reinforce, you're on my side. You think the Gladiators is going to take it, but I think we can all agree that it's going to be a close game, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a very close game. I think that Shock probably are favored a little bit because they've looked so polished so far. We've seen great rotations from them, just consistent individual play from them as well. They just look very complete.
But they haven't been tested.
They haven't been tested, and that's exactly the point about the San Francisco Shock. They've had relatively easy matchups so far, compared to some of the likes of the LA Gladiators who played against the Dallas Fuel. They got reverse swept last week, and it honestly could have gone either way. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, Gladiators, they could have beaten, you know, the Dallas Fuel, because Dallas Fuel could have also won the first two matches. Yeah. But the point being that the LA Gladiators, they've looked a little bit shaky so far this year, but when you actually like reflect on that result, you played 5 maps against the Dallas Fuel in a very competitive series. I think the LA Gladiators, they come into this series and I think it's a 50-50 split. If you want to predict the Shock, sure, go ahead. They look good so far. But the Gladiators, they've also hung with some of the best, like the Dallas Fuel, so I don't think you should sleep on them either.
Scott, what do you think is going to give the San Francisco Shock the edge? Why did you pick them today?
I just think they've been consistent, and I really like what they're doing with their roster. I like what they're doing with their DPS lineup. They seem to have a good plan with those 3 players, you know, Kilo, Proper, and Sam. They've been, you know, working around that. The Gladiators, they've felt a little lost from time to time. They don't feel like they've settled in on anything, and I think they've just been getting away with it because they're such a talented roster, and, you know, they just can beat a lot of these weaker teams, even not on their best day. But they're going to need to bring their best if they're going to take down the San Francisco Shock, and I haven't seen that from them just yet. So I'm edging out the Shock, but I would love to be proven wrong by the Gladiators.
Yeah, this is it. This is a big game for both of those teams, and I just can't wait to see whoever is going to come out on top, because that's going to be my pick moving forward. Simple as that. Someone's going to come out on top, and that's the one I will roll with for the rest of the season. Now, we are about ready to get this thing started, so once again, we're going to head on over to our casters. This time it's going to be Lemon Kiwi and Leg Day.
Thank you so much, Zoe. Yes, this is the match of the tournament. The San Francisco Shock, the undefeated Shock, versus the LA Gladiators, who I feel like could have been undefeated, and then they had that, you know, reverse sweep oopsie that happened. But this is, I've been so excited all week for this match like that.
A touch of oopsie daisy learn, but yes, coming into this matchup, both of these teams are considered incredibly powerful. But both of these teams have also been against a smorgasbord, a smattering of mid-tier teams, and then one Texas triumph. For the San Francisco Shock, it was a touch easier going up against the Houston Outlaws and winning that one, but Dallas Fuel have proven since their kind of disastrous debut, getting 3-0'd by Outlaws live in Texas, that they came back with a vengeance, and thus far have looked overall in the kickoff clash like the stronger of the two Texan teams. However, Lemon, this match is going to be a big decider for all of our fans' power rankings to see who might be the king of North America if Dallas Fuel isn't just seething in the back looking for that top spot.
Yeah, this is not just about being the kings of California. It's about, I think, really going to decide, at least at the start of the season, who really is the #1 team. Shock are 4-0, guaranteed to go to the kickoff clash. And Los Angeles Gladiators, well, they've only had a couple of matches. But let's start talking about the number of rookies that are presenting themselves in this matches, at least starting with the LA Gladiators. I'm especially, both of us coming from Contenders North America, we know all about Reiner the Chad. Okay, he's named after an anime titan, okay? That's when you know this guy's legit. And he's going up against his former teammate of Kalush from the Shock. These guys have both been on the same team together for years back on American Tornado, to also competing against each other. So this is a rematch that all the Contenders fans are going to be excited for.
Yeah, we know all about the rookies, Lemon, having come from Contenders ourselves, but this does highlight a different ethos between these two teams when it came to the construction of the rosters this year. LA Gladiators have focused a lot more on veterancy and trying to bolster the core they already had. All three of their support players, Shu, Funny Astro, and Skewed, could be realistically considered the best in their world at their signature heroes on Ana, Lucio, and Brigitte, respectively. And it feels like Gladiators have stuck on those old reliable players and really tried to mix in some young fresh talent like Reiner and Padapan to really give them the edge. Whereas on the other side, when we look over at a San Francisco Shock, like you said, Reiner versus Kaluj is an interesting battle of friends who have become rivals now, who have been playing together for so long and got to the highest highs in North American Contenders as a duo, but also Kaluj surrounded by a huge amount of other rookies as well who have played together before, and then old father Violet keeping watch over all of this as a two-time winner of the Overwatch League.
And I know the desk were really excited about Kilo versus Ons on the hit scan, but you've already seen your starters won't be Ons for now. But Padafan, I know, is an interesting subject when it comes to the Gladiators. I know I would hate to be on any of these rosters because you're on like MVP level players on both these teams, and then Padafan, who's equally as talented, but had maybe a slower start to the season, and you see the frustration on his face, blaming himself on social media. But this is a young player that is starting to feel the pressure of returning to the Overwatch League, but it's been really cool to see him perform. Padafan has come in as their Genji specialist, and Kevster usually comes in to play around the Genji Echo Tracer, but Padafan, I'm mostly seeing the Genji out of him, so I'm looking forward to see how he's going to grow on this team, and hopefully the mental as well. You got to stay strong through the losses.
Yeah, you've got to have those veterans behind you as well to make sure that your mental is shored up. People who are used to that kind of pressure. And that's why I'm going to drag the conversation back to the Shock now and think about Finn and Violet. And the desk highlighted Shu being a master support player, just an absolute legend tier flex support going up against Finn, who has captured a lot of imaginations as a rookie who's certainly got a huge amount of potential, especially on the Ana. But we've got to contextualize how good Finn is, right? You've got a two-time winner of the World Championships, the Overwatch League, in Violet, who says, you know what, this Finn guy is good enough, but I'm gonna step aside and play main support. That's Violet respecting you that much, and that is the biggest indication that anyone could give that Finn is serious business. But now Finn has to go up against the man, the myth, the legend, the Schuster, and try and come out on top. We're starting off on Oasis, Lemon, and it is going to be a doozy.
Yep, we got our double control map week. That's during week 1, week 3. and 2-4 I think is push. But either way, I want to go back to the Shock as well to talk about just the evolution of meta that we've seen, not only just from the Shock, but entirely. Week 1 was all about the Genji, but ever since week 1, Shock have started moving away from the Genji. Now they're taking advantage of Proper's Tracer and Echo flexibility with Kilo's Soldier, and Sam, you know, was their Genji guy, S9mm. But now Sam was also known for other things other than Genji, you know, Echo besides Genji. But Sam will be playing for now. It's Kevster, Patafan, Kilo, and Proper, and we're starting on University.
Starting off on University, this is where in times previous you might have seen a Reinhardt, but instead Reiner and Kaluj might both roll out here on the Doomfist, which would be an interesting little double date between these, let's say, friendly rivals, both coming out of North American contenders, as we mentioned before. Everyone wants to play for high ground, and that means you've got to be careful with your back on the stairs. Easy to be hit off of those by either a Lucio or a Doom Punch.
And you want your most mobile characters like Tracer or Doomfist, for example, to take that first step forward on Coast side, because Lucio's, especially someone like Funny Asher or Violet, can come around and boop your Ana player. That's been a first pick often, and Finn already has to use the Fade, using the Healing Orb to keep everyone alive. So Finn on the Moira is also a unique look that we haven't seen a whole lot of, countered naturally by Ana's Biotic Grenade, but the Fade ability is so crucial to getting around a Doomfist. Now the capture point has been in favor of the Shock, as the Gladiators are taking around Coast side, especially the mini pack room. And Kilo has used Wraith, and I wonder if Kevster wants to push that.
Reiner was out of the fight for a little bit, fell down to grab that health pack and had nothing else. Reiner can only block the damage coming from one direction, so Kilo gets a quick slay. Yes, Queen, San Francisco Shock grab the first cap here.
Oh, the sleeve just barely missing with a quick reaction from Proper. Shoe under fire, and he's getting some backup from Funny Astro, but it's too little too late. But Funny Astro's still booped off and killed too. So the Gladiators have a chance to re-engage. It's 3-on-1. Proper disengages. Shock will give up the point. Gladiators are still in the lead.
Reiner once again playing from that central hull. Proper moves forward to claim the space, and Gladiators are still hoping to grab Shoe back into here as the Coalescence is popped.
Will keep, especially Kalush standing. The pressure is mounting, and the pulse bomb misses from Proper, and he's dipped by Funny Astro of all people. The tack visor from Patafan on the high ground, especially the Soldier is a new look for him, but makes sense for now. Gladiators have warded away the Shock, and the gap is now getting larger.
Often multiple teams that have gone Lemon for this sort of like double flex support look, maybe anticipating a different meta for Overwatch 2 and having one of their flex supports move over towards the Lucio like we see both Shock and Outlaws do. We're often going to see that some of the more specialist Lucio players like Funny Astro will often come out on top. Nothing gained there from the anti-grenade of Shoe, but still a oh, that's a big steal. Funny Astro from the sky.
Yeah, you nanoed Reiner, who punched in, but the barrier landed just in time for Violet to keep his team up with the Biotic Grenade. Stop all those resources going to Kaluj, but not before he traded with the resource giver of Shoe. Reiner in trouble. The Shock on the point. Finn exposed in the middle of the map. Tries to help out his teammate, but the Shock haven't won a fight since the beginning of this round, and the Gladiators just have to survive before they take University.
And arguably, they didn't even win that first fight. Patafan won't be able to get out of there, and Kaluj has to pop the Meteor Strike simply for their own survival. Down onto a Mega Health Pack, and then straight out of there with multiple slows onto multiple Gladiators. And this is where the pressure starts to mount for Shock. Proper almost has a bomb, but needs to generate it quickly and put it in the right place, Lemon.
It's a 4v4, but not until Patafan joins the fray, and he also is so close to a visor. But Shock finally flipped over the point. Proper is going to the back with a pulse bomb. Kevster has already found success. Proper has not, but maybe he made it out the sound barrier from Funny Astro prematurely, as Reiner was not a beneficiary to this. And Gladiators don't really have a leg to stand on at this point, but it seems like the kills that the DPS have been putting forward is enough for Gladiators to stand tall. It is 4-on-2, and Shock can't touch. 100-34 ends University.
And Reiner engages in the psychological warfare here against his former teammate C9, and then an acronym that I won't be describing.
That's my issue with the Gladiators, though, is that they're extremely confident people. Like, they have a reason to have the egos that they do, but remember what happened against the Dallas Fuel? They started teabagging, they started crouching on control, and look what happened. So just make sure that stays measured.
This is the untold danger of having a British person on your team, Lemon. The lad behavior becomes very irresponsible. Both teams now moving over towards the Winston. It feels like both Gladiators and Shock have a very similar read on how the game should be played at the moment. Shock, however, are leaving behind their previous rush flavor, where they had both the Moira and the Reaper, to return Finn to that all-important Ana, and this is going to make things a little bit more difficult for Reiner.
High ground already for the Shock. A bio lands on Shu, and Proper hunts down his prey. What a move from Buddy Astro! Finn has been traded. Now you make this winnable if you're the Gladiators, and it will come down to the DPS as the tanks fell after that. Kilo and Proper with the headshot. I love the new UI as well to let us know that. And with that, Shock take the point first.
All right, Kilo had a pretty slow opening over on University, but somewhat making up for it now in this second stage as we head to the Gardens. Gladiators now, how do they try and make their entry here? Can they try and line up a Reiner dive alongside something like a Shu biotic grenade in order to make these squishy targets incredibly vulnerable?
Oh, Kilo, he smelt the dive coming, immediately backed away. Reiner drops to the point. Gladiators backline exposed. Funny Astro got bioed and finished. What a dive execution from the Shock. The disengage into the counterattack is lethal, and Shock haven't been touched yet.
That disengaged counterattack, like you were talking about, Lemon, is so brutal because San Francisco Shock, they work like an elastic band. They just slap back at you with more force when you try and take that zone away because it involves so many resources. The Bardic Grenade and the leap from the Winston, and it means that Finn afterwards is so fearless that he can just baboon Ana his way over towards the stairwell and do a point-blank Bardic Grenade that hits multiple people and ensures the death of Funny Astro.
2 pulse bombs available, Proper and Kepster. Have been real good at landing these. Patafan chased away. A bio grenade from Finn. His Kepster and Reiner. Both pulse bomb misses, but Shu falls. Gladiators limited in resources as Violet bolsters his team with a sound barrier. Now if you're the Shock, you really need to, you can just cycle these ultimates. This feels very winnable, but the Gladiators start to invest. Now that Shu is back in the fight, the sound barrier, the primal, starts unleashing for the Gladiators, but isn't enough to get them kills. Shock gap them on University, and you're not seeing any signs of hope if you're the Gladiators with Patafan and Funny Astro gone. Shocker heading for more staggers. Reiner is low. Shu gives the nano to Reiner to keep him alive, and it's the re-engage for the Gladiators.
No Lucio still this time, but someone else is going to have to be responsible for touching that point. It's Kevster around the back. They found Violet. Both the DPS staring at this one, Lucio, but he gets out alive, and that demanded so much attention, Lemon. The Shu fell by the wayside. Sure, it's a cap for Gladiators, but now they are without their main healer, and Shock look poised to counterattack once more with a proper pulse bomb.
Oh, Shu and Funny Astro are dead, though, and Patafan was able to heal himself up, but a bio grenade from Finn hits Reiner. 2 immediately fall for the Gladiators as 99% ensues. Shock have recaptured, and they have defeated the Gladiators. Shields